Hello and welcome everybody to a special edition Family History Month program. Today's program is a half-hour Ask the Expert session. We're doing two of these this month, one today and then one a little bit later in the month, where we are just answering your questions on specific things. So today we're going to talk about genealogy software. So joining me today is my colleague, Cynthia Theusch. Hi. Cynthia is like me. She likes to play with all the toys, with the software. So that's why I asked Cynthia to join me today. Now, if y'all have questions, put those in the Q&A box. So there's a button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. Stick it in there. That way your questions won't get lost. There is not a handout for today. I'm just going to go ahead and address that now. Just because this is such a short session, we wanted to just answer as many questions as possible, but we will put things like links to things in the chat. If any of you have resources you would like to share in the chat, do so. So anyway, let's see if we have any questions. Let's take a look. I'm not seeing any questions right now. So Cynthia, what type of software do you like?
Well, I've only really used one most of the time. I've used the other two just to test them. So my favorite is Family Tree Maker. I've used it since the beginning of the DOS program. I'm aging myself, I'm sorry, but.
So there is a question in here about Family Tree Maker. This person is saying that they have Family Tree Maker and they're asking, is it better to do their work in Ancestry and then download the tree to Family Tree Maker, or the other way around? So for those who are not aware, I can actually share my screen and show Family Tree Maker. And I have Family Tree Maker for Mac as well. The person who was asking for
what
Mac.
I've done is I typed in my Ancestry one. I just did a beginning of the basic, definitely known generations. I went 5 generations in Ancestry with just my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., with no sidelines. Slowly, I added my aunts and uncles and stuff. But it's up to you. Do you want everybody in your tree out there so Ancestry throws you back all these hints and stuff? Or do you rather not and just have your basic key people you're really researching? It's individual choice. I don't want to put all my aunts and uncles on it because I get hints galore for people who I know everything about. I got their full records of everything, marriage, death, whatever, and some photographs. I only don't want to get, well, yeah, your sister lives in Massachusetts. No, my sister does not live in Massachusetts. She's never left Michigan. You know, I get really weird hints on these relatives. So I try not to put a lot of collateral in there.
Yeah. So can you all see the right screen? I'm using my personal computer. I'm used to having multiple monitors. I assume y'all can see Family Tree Maker.
I see a Family Tree Maker.
Great. So for those of you who are Mac users like me, this is Family Tree Maker for Mac. I've used other things for Mac. I've used Mac Family Tree. It's okay. I like to play with the different ones. So I have not been using Family Tree Maker nearly as long as Cynthia, but this is the new version of Family Tree Maker. So this is the Family Tree Maker for 2019. So let's see, open tree. I am bad with the hints. I am really bad about going through the hints and just clearing them out. Okay, I admit that. I will probably never get rid of all of them because they're just too many. And some of y'all are going to have trees much bigger than this one. Now, for those who might not be familiar with what the hint situation looks like. So Family Tree Maker will link up to Ancestry. In the top right corner, you can sync now. I'm not going to do that because I do have things I need to sync and I don't want to break Zoom during today's program. But if you're doing things on Ancestry outside of Family Tree Maker, you make all your changes and whatnot, and then whenever you're back in Family Tree Maker, you can sync it, and then everything links up beautifully. Make sure you have good.
And mine doesn't sync because when I typed in my tree in Ancestry and I kept this one separate. So yeah.
Yeah, I like to sync them for this. I just like to, but you can go. So these are hints for this woman, Bridget Sennett. So if I was to click on this one, you'll see what's in from my tree, what's in the hint. This is from, you know, a public tree, which I don't usually save those. I'll go into people's public trees and destroy them in the sense that I'll pick apart what sources they're using. See, does that make sense? Because some of them might make sense, some of them might not. And I'll save the individual sources in someone else's public tree. We could do a whole other program about that, but not today. But you can pick and choose what you want. You can merge them. And this is kind of what that looks like. So I'm not going to go through all of this because I know y'all have questions, but that's what this looks like for Family Tree Maker. Now, we're not telling you go get Family Tree Maker, right? So what software will work best for you depends on you. So some of the softwares work better for different programs. So like I have a Mac, Cynthia has a PC. Roots Magic, I don't think works well for Mac from my understanding.
We have a Mac version, yeah.
They don't have a Mac version, yeah. So if you have a Mac, you're gonna want to lean maybe towards Family Tree Maker, or
there was a Reunion at one time.
Reunion exists. It's expensive.
See, and that's another choice.
Yeah.
Free. Roots Magic is free. You don't get all the features unless you pay for it. It's cheaper when you go to a conference because you get Roots Magic plus their book at, you know, their how-to book for a lot lower price than you normally would. And the other one, Family Legacy, you've got a free version and you've got a deluxe version. There's a lot more features in the deluxe, which costs. So it depends. If you'd rather do free and you don't mind not doing a lot of the charts or the fancy stuff, the free versions are really, really good. It's just too bad Family Tree Maker doesn't do a free version. So.
Yeah, so it all kind of depends. Mac Family Tree was okay. It doesn't link up to Ancestry, or at least it didn't when I had it. Maybe it does now. It does link with Family Search, but I don't use the Family Search tree personally. So it all depends on what your wants and needs are, and also how easy is it to use. One of the things I didn't like about Reunion, from what I recall of a free trial that I did a while back, was I didn't like how it looked. That sounds strange, but it looked weird to me. I don't even know how to put it into words, but but it wasn't something that I'm like, I don't get excited using this. So if I don't like it, I'm not going to use it. So I'm not going to spend the money on it.
No.
Yeah. I like the Ancestry through lines, and I want to look at slides when I have the time.
Look at the sidelines.
Oh, the sidelines when I have the time. Yeah, I like them too, because I like to add those people in.
I like to learn to see how much they really agree with me and where there's a difference. And if there's a big major difference, I might write to them and explain to them how did they get that answer, because this is what I found. But yeah, I usually try to do it to make sure whether or not we're following the same people or the right people. And that's how we're connecting with through lines. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see someone in the chat vouching for Reunion. I'm not telling you not to do a thing. That's just my personal preference. So like what I might like might not be the same as what Cynthia might like or what some of you might like. So play around. One of the things that I always suggest that people do when they're picking a software is do a really basic Google search. Best genealogy software 2022.
The top 10 or whatever. Then you can take a look, you can see people's opinions or whatever.
Because you'll see these articles where they're comparing like pros and cons. and you can kind of decide for yourself, you know, what are the pros and cons that are most important to you. Okay. Okay, being based in Ukraine, is Family Tree Maker continuing to work on improvements and a newer version, or is the software static? I don't believe the software is static because we had a
They have a recent update that they
my Family Tree Maker updated just the other day. And we had someone from Family Tree Maker give a program for us a while back. If y'all would like, that program was not recorded, but the handout still exists. If y'all would like that, send us an email. I'm going to put that into the chat. Just so, because it has some helpful links in there for, you know, where to go for support and tips and how to do the things in Family Tree Maker. But I wouldn't say that the software, oh, I misspelled genealogy. That's bad.
Well, for me, there's one person they asked about whether or not they could download it so they can work it offline. I did download my last purchase with Family Tree Maker, and I never use it. Very seldom do I connect the internet when I'm working with my Family Tree Maker at home.
Yeah.
Because I don't want all that disturbances as I'm trying to load things in and make sure I'm on the same thing. I very seldom have my internet on when I'm doing my family tree updates.
I have mine on. But it's not syncing. I have mine set, and this was like a recommendation from someone from Family Tree Maker, was to have in your settings, have it set up so that it doesn't automatically sync. You have to do a manual sync. And the reason why is because it can get like funky and weird, and you don't want that.
It's bringing in things while you're trying to type and it delays you and whatever. Yeah.
And someone else is saying that they do uploads rather than downloads, and that's kind of the beauty of technology, right? You do what works for you. Who cares what everyone else says? We're just sharing our experiences because that is something that's asked a lot. Like, you know, if I'm going to get a software, what should I get? So we can only speak for us.
I was always interfered while I was working on it. I had my boys there. My husband would intervene and stuff, ask questions while I'm in the middle of uploading. So I usually don't try to do internet or syncing because you never know, what did I just do? You know, what did you just made me do that I didn't want to do type thing. And now with grandkids, yeah, when my computer's on, nope, it's not connected to the internet because I'm afraid I can really screw up my family tree if I just hit one button wrong and all of a sudden someone talks to me and I slip my finger differently. Oh yeah, no. So
I see that someone is having issues with the view of this. In the top right corner, there should be a view button, and you can change your view and change it to gallery, and you'll be able to see us. Okay. Man, this is a fast and furious half hour. We're already halfway through, Cynthia.
and it's really nice is when you are on Ancestry, especially with the DNA connection and stuff, and you've located people. I have found so many nice updates for my husband because his all came from, he had a family of 18 and his great grandfather's tree and stuff. There's 18 children. So I didn't have them all. And sometimes I could connect and say, do you have a husband of or whatever? Or did you know so-and-so was kidnapped? You know, or you find out they put a wrong family because both the father and the mother are the same as the in-laws, father and mother, the first names. So they missed a generation at one point. So it's nice that you can communicate and connect with people on your trees that you've worked with. It helps make it more of a collaborative event, which is really hard to do when you've got a tree maker and someone's across the country. But it's really nice is when we can connect to new people that give us great information for trees.
So I do see a question here asking, what software would you recommend to use to get teens engaged? I think that teens like to have, and if there are any teens who are visiting in this program, you can you can chime in if you feel comfortable. But I think that teens usually like things that can be mobile so that you can access it from any device. So things like, trying to think of a good example, things like tribal pages.
Yep, and Family Tree Maker is also, I can use it on my phone. I have a tree vault, which puts it out in the cloud. So I can use my phone, I could use a tablet, or I could use my iPad or my whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and also if you're talking about a teen who's like just starting to get into genealogy, things like tribal pages, even though it's good for just like uploading a GEDCOM file, it doesn't let you attach media. It's free, so it can, and it exists on the internet basically. I'll put the name of that in the chat, but it lets you basically be able to whip it out whenever you're talking to somebody and be like, hey, these are the things that I'm finding recently. But the downside is that it doesn't link up to media. It doesn't sync with the other things. So you have to keep uploading GEDCOM files into it. But it's a way to like maybe get their feet wet. And I think that best course of action is to ask the teen in your life, what do you like technology wise? Like, what do you don't like? Is this clunky looking to you? Does this seem like something you would be interested in using? Getting input from them, I think, is really important. And then you can kind of figure out from them what would work best.
True.
Just as a reminder, we don't have a handout for today's program. Save the chat. This program is being recorded. So it will go onto our YouTube channel at some point soon, but no handout for today. I do see that somebody in the chat put a helpful link to a comparison between software packages. That's great. Y'all are already on the right track. I like to look at consumer reports too. It's really riveting stuff, let me tell you. It's what you read when you can't sleep, but they could be helpful when you're trying to decide, what's good, what doesn't work, and so forth. So one person asked if they listened to our request. I wish they'd give us a toggle switch or something that we can turn off the hints for, say, the aunt or of the stepfather, of the grandmother of our spouse's daughter-in-law. I assume you mean they by Family Tree Maker. You would have to unsync it with Ancestry, I think, to get that to turn off. You don't
sync it to any of the on-sites and be on the internet. You don't get the hints if you aren't syncing.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to turn that off in Ancestry.
Sometimes I wish that would happen, but yeah.
There's some people where I'm like, these are collateral people. I don't care, but
I usually say ignore, or maybe, and just leave. I want to look back at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you add audio recordings to Family Tree Maker?
I haven't tried that.
I don't know. I'm looking.
I've not seen it. I know they've done, they do pictures and stuff. I'm not sure about recordings.
I am not sure. And I don't have an audio recording handy enough to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Okay. That's a very good question. If we don't get to all of your questions today, by the way, please send us an email. Our email is genealogy@acpl.info. I'm gonna stick that in the chat.
Someone just put in the chat, or was it the chat that had it, that they added audio? I didn't see that. It was real quick.
I have added audio and video recording to Family Tree Maker 2019, the newest version. Good, great. Thank you for answering that question.
You added something in there, so it was like,
that's awesome that they did. Yes. Now I might have to go back and
I think it would be fun.
attach some
Some
audio
of
recordings.
them with my grandkids, get their voices when they were little and then play it back later. It'd
Well,
be
I have copies of oral history that my grandmother did where
Oh.
she's talking about different people.
That would be a nice
Yeah.
one too, yeah, because then that would really make it come to life. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Is there a way to list the LDS number into Family Tree Maker?
I would put it in notes if you have an LDS
Yeah,
film number or even a
Yeah.
person number. I would put it in personal notes so it's right there for you at all times.
yeah, I would suggest the same. Yeah, notes is a good place for all kinds of things.
Yeah, any kind of arguments you want or double checking or saying is, I'm not sure if this is correct, but you know, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
a good way of figuring out what you're doing next.
what software is recommended if I have no interest in subscribing to Ancestry? Really, any of them. It
Any
depends
of them.
on your computer. It depends on how much you want to pay for the software. Because you don't have to link up these different subscription things like Ancestry into it. You don't even have to link up Family Search, which is free, into the softwares.
And I don't. I mean, my Ancestry does not sync or come back and forth with Hints. My Family Search doesn't either because I'm not on the, I don't turn on the internet when I do it. If you did have it linked and you turn the internet on, you're going to be finding all the hints. But if you don't turn on the internet, you don't see the hints. So
Yeah. Someone's asking, where can I find instructions for Mac Family Tree?
you mean like your manual? It should be underneath your help.
Okay.
Because they usually have a book, but they made the handbook also part of your underneath the help area, I believe. I know it's on mine's.
Well, there's some YouTube tutorials that you can try. And then if you need a manual right here. Oh, am I sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. I'm going to put
I
that
know
in the chat.
the PC one is underneath the help. There's a training manual and videos in the help part.
Yeah. Google's your friend, guys. So like if you don't know how to do something, Google it. I promise. Like just get good at your keyword searches. We are running low on time. Man, we should have made this an hour, Cynthia.
I don't know if our colleague would agree.
Probably not, but it's okay.
Yeah. Well, we can
Okay.
do more of it later at another time if need be too.
Yes, we can always do this again. Anytime. Yeah. Okay. If I have Ancestry, should I purchase like a family tree software? What's the difference? So there's always the concern that you could maybe stop subscribing to Ancestry. Yeah, you'll still have access to your tree, but what if something happens? Many copies of things keeps things safe. That's kind of a general rule. So I like to have an offline tree as well, just so I don't lose everything. What if my account gets hacked and they delete everything? That's also like my paranoid fear. Do you have any thoughts, Cynthia?
Well, basically, I didn't start doing, I didn't purchase Ancestry until after I did my DNA. But then, you know, that's when I started having an account.
Yeah. So, do I still have, let me make sure and see, do I still have on my computer? No, I recently removed Mac Family Tree. Well, Cynthia, do you want to share Roots Magic?
Well, this is the free version of it. This is Roots Magic. I was trying to go in and correct my great grandfather, but I'm having trouble a little bit. But basically, this is the actual tree. If I wanted to do family, you can go this way with it. The descendants view, I really haven't played with that very much. You also have a timeline you can work with, but my screens are usually the family or the pedigree unless I do reports, which can be coming up from up here, like you've got your help. Or if I decide to finally update to the actual full package and everything, I can just click here and purchase if I want. But you can edit, you know, there's all these other buttons you can review and stuff, the various reports. This is free, this can be used. And these little light bulbs, because I'm on the internet, is telling me there are some hints on through family search. And there is an error here saying that the parents married after somebody's birth. I have no idea, because I don't think I have any. I only have the one, so it's hard to say. And then these colored triangles means there's more family that route. And so if they think you've got an error, all the softwares lately have done it. Even Family Search has done it, where it comes up with an error saying, are you sure you got this correct? I think I downloaded somebody's thing and then they had it, somebody died 20 years before he should have. So I had to make that correction quickly. So
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. Because somehow we just ended up talking a lot about Family Tree Maker.
yeah.
I don't really know how that happened, even
And I
though
don't
we've
have,
used
I
other
don't have
things.
the legacy on my computer, but
I had Mac Family Tree until probably a week ago, and I had forgotten we were doing this program, just because having both programs on my computer was just like, my computer would get really hot, very angry. I have a lot of other big software on my computer, like Photoshop and other big things, so I had to remove something. Yeah.
I think the biggest of mine is Family Tree Maker. So yeah.
Yeah. But one person had asked, where can I go for hand holding, as I tried to download what was solely an online ancestry tree and then upload it into the latest version of Family Tree Maker. And she said that she's nervous. Don't be nervous. It will be okay. I promise. When you're downloading a GEDCOM file, you're not removing it from Ancestry. So it's still there. There are links to tutorials on how to kind of get that started in a handout that was for a program that someone from Family Tree Maker did for us. For those of you who would like a copy of that handout, which is not to this program, it's just for Family Tree Maker, send us an email. I'm going to put our email in the chat again.
Well, that was mostly charts and stuff, right?
No, that was a different one.
That was a different one.
Yeah,
okay.
that was a different one.
All right. I know there one was charts that worked with all of these programs. So, okay.
Yeah, that was a really, really fast half hour. I'm going to stop sharing your screen, Cynthia.
All right. I can't believe it's been that long already.
Yeah. And y'all have so many questions. There's like 19 questions still in the Q&A. There's no possible way we could have gotten through all of them, but we really appreciate all of you joining us. Yeah. We will have more programs, throughout this month. We will also have another half-hour Ask the Expert session later in the month, also on a Saturday. So not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. That one will not be on software. It will be on specifically writing. So you will be seeing me again, and we will talk about how to write your family's history with my colleague John Beatty, who's written over 16 books. I mean, he's always writing. So if you want to see what we have coming up, let me make this full screen. Go to our website, genealogycenter.org, scroll down the page a little bit. you'll see today's program. We're going to have this awesome program on Tuesday at 2:30. So this is using maps for genealogy research. So the speaker is from the New York Public Library. His name is Phil Sutton. Wonderful speaker. It's an awesome presentation. I've seen it before. So register for that if you haven't seen it before. And then we'll have our Wednesdays with Witcher. So getting organized. We'll have a program on digging into Mexican research, actually a couple of those. So one on Thursday, a different one on Saturday that's catered to the Midwest. We will have a program on witches, on the Salem witches. So we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up for the rest of this month. And even though there was not a handout for today's program, this program was recorded and will be put on our YouTube channel shortly. So there's a link to that underneath this genealogy events box. Okay. If you have more questions, send us an email. We are happy to answer any and all of your questions. I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your beautiful Saturday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.